We begin tonight with that mass shooting in Austin on 6th Street. 17 people shot, 2 others killed. Obviously a very popular area on that night, and now a lot of coverage with law enforcement. Our Jason Allen in Austin on this evening. Jason, let's talk about the very latest there.
Steve, this portion of West 6th Street in Austin still closed down tonight as investigators continue to focus on that area right in front of Buford's bar. That's the bar where police said today that this gunman circled a few times in the early morning hours this morning, then started firing with a pistol, first out the window of the SUV that he was driving, aiming at the people out on the patio, then stopping the car, getting out, and continuing to fire with a rifle. We have seen FBI investigators tonight bring out some evidence that they've collected in brown paper bags, and they continue to work there. However, Austin police have said tonight that they're starting to reopen some portions of 6th Street and have told people who were here last night that they can start arranging with businesses to come back and pick up cars or pick up things that they may have left inside some of these bars or businesses in that rush to get out.
Video shows people taking cover inside a bar as a gunman fired shots toward them from the window of an SUV. Then, police said he parked and got out with a rifle and started firing again. Within less than a minute, 3 police officers patrolling the busy entertainment district shot and killed the gunman. Paramedics immediately started trying to save the lives of the 19 people shot. 2 of them died. 3 more were in critical condition. Sources identified the shooter to CBS News as Ndiaga Diagne, a naturalized U.S. citizen originally from Senegal.
There were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
The gunman was wearing a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah" and had a Quran in his vehicle. Investigators searching his home north of Austin found an Iranian flag and pictures of Iranian leaders, according to officials close to the investigation.
This is what keeps the intelligence community up at night. Not people directly associated with terrorist groups, but people who become inspired because of things that are happening in the world.
Law enforcement officials have also told CBS News that this shooter, Steve, had a history of mental health issues that law enforcement was aware of.
Jason Allen there in Austin. Thank you, Jason. The White House says President Trump received a briefing on this mass shooting, and the Governor Abbott, releasing this statement that says, in part, this act of violence will not define us, nor will it shake the resolve of Texans. The governor going on to say to anyone who thinks about using the current conflict in the Middle East to threaten Texans or our critical infrastructure, understand Texas will respond with decisive and overwhelming force to protect our state. That from the governor. The governor also says he has directed the Texas Military Department and the DPS to boost security actions tied to this shooting and military attacks, of course, in Iran. We are told the security includes more patrols and surveillance at the southern border, as well as port cities and energy facilities in the state of Texas as well. This story invariably continues to develop, with more to come on the accused attacker and those victims. You can always find the very latest, of course, on our updates at cbsnewstexas.com. President also announcing today that 9 Iranian naval ships have been destroyed with this offensive. Iranian-based reports also indicating 200 people have died over the last 24 hours. Meantime, here in North Texas, protests and demonstrations on city streets. Today, rallies held in Dallas and Plano with attendees expressing opposing viewpoints. Our Bracela Holguin tonight with that story.
In response to the latest developments out of Iran, many have taken to the streets to express how they feel.
We feel great. We feel thankful, grateful for what has happened. Iranians have been hostage with the Islamic Republic, with mullahs, more than 4 decades now.
This was a scene in Plano off Preston Road. Organizers tell us there were about 3,000 people.
And we are grateful that President Trump helped us. It takes a lot of courage. Inside Iran, our families are back home in Iran. They were crying of joy. Imagine 47 years of suppression.
As this demonstration was happening, was another taking place in Dallas at Dealey Plaza.
We need to stop this. We need a change. We need a paradigm shift. We're a force for peace rather than a force for war.
While both groups agree that there should be a regime change, one supports President Trump's efforts, while the other worries about the implications a war could have.
But it's possible to be against the regime and against this war, and to question whether we are going to be able to bring the change most of us would hope for. And in fact, will it not make the situation worse?
As for developments in the Middle East, President Trump says he's agreed to speak with Iran's new leadership, but has also indicated strikes will continue throughout the week. In Dallas, Priscilla Holguin, CBS News, Texas.
Down to Austin tonight, where police released identities of the two victims who were killed in Sunday's mass shooting on 6th Street. They are 21-year-old Savitha Shan and also 19-year-old Ryder Harrington. Another 14 people were wounded in that shooting. Police say the gunman was wearing a hoodie that said "Property of Allah." Investigators say that they also believe that the guns used in that shooting were legally acquired out of San Antonio back in 2017. Officers ended up shooting and killing the 53-year-old suspect, and the FBI is investigating the shooting as a possible terror attack.
We want to make sure that we have our facts 100% correct, or as close to, or at least we've tracked down every possible lead that we can. We owe that to the victims and their families.
Sources tell CBS News they believe the gunman acted alone and are looking through his online history for any more information. Investigators say the suspect also was a naturalized U.S. citizen originally from Senegal. Police say that they are interviewing more than 150 witnesses, and it was 6th Street in Austin, so you can imagine how many people were out there at the time. Amelia Magavro tonight live in Austin. I know you spoke with at least two people who were there the moment the gunfire started. What did they share with you?
Yeah, Doug, those witnesses, they were not party goers, they were not bar goers or tourists, they were pedicab drivers, and they were actually stationed right across from West 6th Street here and across from Buford's bar where the shooting occurred. And their whole goal that night was to get people home safely. That was their objective. Instead, they found themselves ducking for cover.
People are leaving. They are hightailing it out of here.
Yeah, that cell phone video was captured by pedicab driver Heidi Nicole and fellow driver Silas. They tell me that they were waiting for the usual late night rush to have people exit the bar when they suddenly heard what they described as 3 separate rounds of gunfire. That's consistent to what police reported, 2 from the suspect and then a third when officers returned fire to the suspect. Nicole says that in the chaos, she couldn't tell where the shots were coming from. And even at one point, she and others had to crouch behind cars, unsure if they were in the line of fire.
It sounded like a firework finale because there were so many shots going off. The police officers were doing their job. And you didn't know if it was him or if he was coming this, you didn't know what was going on.
A lot of the people who were out here, most of them didn't know these people, but they're like, that could have been me, that could have been my friend.
And as you can see, our camera is pointing to a growing memorial outside Buford's. Flowers and objects all paying tribute to the young lives lost. We know that 2 so far have been killed, and police say that another one will be taken off of life support. That was an oppressor this afternoon. So just a tragic situation down here in Austin. This bar behind me, not just a bar anymore, but a tribute to those young lives lost. But back to the pedicab drivers, some interesting things in the conversation that we had earlier today was that they say that this West 6th Street part of the entertainment district is actually a part that they prefer to end their night on because it's typically the most calmest part of the entertainment district. So I thought that was an interesting thing that they said to me. And they said that they're not necessarily scared to work down here after the shooting, but they do admit the shooting is a stark and sobering reminder that violence can happen anytime. Live in Austin, Amelia Magavro, CBS News, Texas.
And the Fort Worth Fire Department is facing a serious shortage of EMS workers right now, and that has city leaders very concerned about whether someone will be ready to respond to your call for help. Our Marissa Armas explains the schedule changes that are being made and the impact on those EMS workers.
I mean, it's definitely a challenge. We're definitely looking at bringing on more people.
A shortage of EMS workers in Fort Worth is raising concerns about whether an ambulance will be available when someone calls for help.
And I don't think anybody on this table ever wants to see that at 9:36 if a citizen calls and they can't get an ambulance. That's not what we want to see, right?
Tuesday, during a city council public safety committee meeting, the interim fire chief Raymond Hill warned the department is losing EMS workers faster than ever, adding that about 7 people are leaving every month. That's a 16% attrition rate, which Hill said historically was closer to 5%. Currently, at least 89 positions are vacant.
That the majority of our EMS providers are leaving for dual role positions in other agencies.
These challenges come less than a year since the department merged with its EMS provider MedStar. Now, because of these shortages, they're now implementing a new pilot program. Starting Saturday, EMS shifts will change from 12 hours to 24.
You get more days off per month as you have an improved work-life balance, it's an easier commute management, and then, as I mentioned earlier, the shift desirability.
But council members are worried the city isn't prepared to make the change.
As we're moving into the new systems, are we adequately prepared to do this?
The chief said this program will last 90 days to test what works. But this change would require more staff to sleep at fire stations, which means more bed space and having enough room for firefighters, both men and women, to sleep separately.
We're being told that we should have all the beds here next week. I think that order or that agreement may have happened even as early as this morning.
CBS News Texas contacted the Fort Worth Firefighters Association to ask them about the changes. In a statement, a spokesperson said the association is working with the city and department leaders to figure out the logistics while prioritizing fast response times and proper working conditions for responders.
We're working around that to make sure that we're keeping ambulances on the street, we're keeping people showing up to your doors in your times of need, and we're doing it with a long-term thought behind it.
In Fort Worth, Marissa Armas, CBS News, Texas.
Well, we do know there was some confusion yesterday during the election. Dallas County Republicans chose to hold a separate primary. So what that meant was voters were required in all of Dallas County to vote at their assigned precinct yesterday as a result, instead of being able to vote at any voting center in the county, as they were allowed to do during early voting and also in years past on Election Day as well. A Dallas County judge, though, ordered polls be extended until 9 p.m. for Democratic voters because they petitioned the court. But then Texas Supreme Court later blocked that order, ruling that ballots cast by people who were not in line by 7 must be separated. Our Steve Pickett with a deeper explanation. But the bottom line, some voters left frustrated yesterday.
I had no clue that it was going to be like that.
Katie Tootle, a 24-year-old Dallas voter with no clarity today if 3+ hours in 2 locations to cast her vote will even count. She told us she wasn't alone.
And there was a man next to me, and he was quite upset. I kind of asked what happened, and he said that he had waited 3 hours just like we all did, and that when he got up there, they told him he was at the wrong place.
You know, it's the confusion, it's the games.
Tuesday, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett called it voter suppression. In voting precincts throughout Dallas County on Tuesday, hundreds of voters were turned away. Like Tootle, they lined up at wrong locations initially. This primary election for Dallas County required voting only at designated neighborhood precincts. The Dallas Democratic Party received an emergency court order to extend voting hours yesterday to 9 p.m. The Texas Supreme Court, however, blocked that emergency order. And today, those blue bags you see, those are provisional votes. Votes from people voting after 7 p.m. And those votes are now on hold.
So we had over 100,000 people vote Election Day in a primary. It's higher numbers than we usually see.
Officials say 2,400 people and counting in Dallas County now have their votes under review, facing possible rejection because essentially they took too long to get to the right place. In Dallas, Steve Pickett, CBS News, Texas.
Very first time we're all together seeing the start of a Fort Worth police chase that ended with the death of an innocent driver. And that moment set off a nearly 3-year I-team investigation. And because of that investigation, Fort Worth PD has now made part of its once secret policy on chasing public. A warning for you, the rest of the video may be hard for some of you to watch. Investigative reporter Brian New tonight with the exclusive video and also what it reveals.
A deadly police chase.
Good evening and welcome to the Fort Worth City Council meeting.
A hidden pursuit policy.
They have tried to keep everything confidential, and it makes you ask the question, why?
What started with the chase of this stolen Dodge Challenger in 2023 ended in the death of 57-year-old Andre Craig.
And we're talking about an innocent person who was going about the business of their day. And in the process of doing that, he was killed. He was killed.
After months of pressure, part of the Fort Worth police chase policy was finally made public. And now, for the first time,
he's going to be bailing.
So is this video.
Nowhere near him. He's going to be going westbound.
Now, before we show you the full dash cam video, it's important to understand how this chase began. A flock camera spotted the stolen car. Police found it parked at a house in this neighborhood, a place they had been before, tied to someone they knew well. Police quietly moved in, surrounded the area, stopped six ready. All part of what the sergeant wrote in his report was an effort to prevent a pursuit. Right at the top, I want you to watch this officer. He throws out stop sticks and successfully punctures the tires. That's the reported stolen car. Behind the wheel is 19-year-old Brian Hunter. Officer Linwell Joel, a 19-year veteran, is now in pursuit. Watch as he safely clears his red light intersection before picking up speed. Take a look to your right. Did you catch it? It was a speed limit sign. It's 30 miles an hour on this road. According to police records, this chase reached speeds close to 100. Fort Worth police policy doesn't set a hard speed limit. Instead, it requires officers to weigh the danger of the pursuit against the need to catch the suspect. I want you to also notice the timestamp given in universal time, which translates to just after 6 p.m. on a Thursday. That's rush hour, something officers also have to consider when deciding to chase. Did you see that? Let's go back. That right there is a rifle. The police helicopter, known as Air One, had spotted it being thrown out of the suspect's vehicle. There's Air One at the top of the screen. The chopper allows ground officers to back off if needed without losing sight of the suspect. As the officer approaches this Nix intersection, listen closely. Did you hear his tires as he slows down? That's something you won't hear at the Nix intersection.
Y'all, let me have the radio. He's got a good spike. He's losing it. He's crossed over Evans, or he's crossed over Rosedale. I'm sorry. He's going to be bailing. Give me a second. I'm nowhere near him. He's going to be going westbound.
Freeze it once more. Inside that SUV is Andre Craig. He has the green light. The officer's light is red. According to the crash report, Craig was killed on impact. Almost immediately, multiple officers raced to the scene. Just feet from the crash, the two suspects bailed out of the stolen car, then were quickly arrested. Brian Hunter eventually pled guilty to evading arrest causing death and is now serving a 3-year sentence. Meanwhile, Officer Joel, who can be seen visibly upset, was suspended for 15 days for violating his department's pursuit policy. Last year, the city of Fort Worth settled a lawsuit with the family of Andre Craig for $250,000. The city also, after the crash, eventually made part of its pursuit policy public. This came after months of legal battles with the Texas Attorney General to try to keep the policy hidden after we requested it, Doug, through state open record laws.
As a result, Brian, of the incident, has the department made any changes you're aware of to how it handles chases?
Doug, we asked that question to Chief Eddie Garcia. Now, it's important to note he was not the chief in Fort Worth at the time of this crash. The department declined our interview request, but when the general orders were last updated, we noticed a clear risk versus harm statement where now a Fort Worth officer may only initiate a pursuit when allowing the suspect to escape is likely to cause more harm than the pursuit itself.
All right, Brian New and our I-team, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Now to another piece of video tonight, different, but maybe just as tough to watch for some of you. Austin PD sharing with us the chaos from a body camera as a gunman opened fire in Austin last weekend, and then the police response.
Where is he? Where? We don't know. Right there, right there. Hey!
And in that hail of gunfire, officers took down the shooter as bystanders hid, but then also helped officers find the gunman, directing them. He was seen on other video right here, carrying that rifle before he started firing into the crowd on 6th Street last weekend. 3 people were killed, 16 others were hurt. We do not yet know any kind of motive behind the attack. However, the FBI says it is investigating this as a potential act of terrorism.